Thank you for joining us for webinar 14 today. Let me get the slide. There we go. So today's agenda, as usual, are welcome and mindfulness moment, an introduction of guest presenters, and then Heather Noorda is going to share more mentor tips and tricks. And then we'll turn the time over to Clarissa Stebbing to share information on healthy habits and student wellness. So this morning I thought we'd just take it easy. The school year's wrapping up, and I know life has been crazy for most of us at this time of year. So if you just take a moment and pop open the Zoom chat and tell us what excites you about springtime, or what you're celebrating right now as your kids are preparing, or anything. You can also vent if you're having a stressful morning and that's what you prefer. So let's see. Give everybody just a minute to pop some information, or what do you call it, answers in there. Oh, warm weather is definitely a hit with all of us. Well, so far, all of us. And yes, flowers are best. I actually have spent more time outside than inside this week. Not only due to the house construction, but in my flowers. Let's see, getting ready for a 4A state softball tournament. Ooh, how exciting, Kelly. I forget what you guys are, but go team. All right, and we have a sun coming home. That's wonderful. And let's see, yards in bloom. Yes, I kind of feel like sometimes maybe I should encourage us all to take pictures, and then we could share our yards as our little mindfulness moment. You're the Buffaloes. That's right. Go Buffaloes. I hope you guys win today. Oh, how fun. I'm so happy to see, there's some level of the new normal returning for these kids. I'm still in my safe little bunker, so I forget how life has gone on outside of my house. Well, thank you for sharing out this morning. I'll get us moving along to keep us on schedule here today. But if you've got some other comments you want to make and share with the group, you're welcome to keep those going in the chat. Let's see, wait, one more. We've got a student that was 12 credits deficient at the beginning of the year and is now only a half credit deficient. Will probably graduate. Oh my gosh, congratulations. That is amazing. Oh, see, anything is possible if we just keep with it. All right. So this morning we will hear from our favorite, okay, not our favorite, but our favorite today. Granite mentor. I think they're all my favorite, and I tell them that every time. You all are all my favorites. But anyway, Heather began her nurturing, coaching, and fostering ways as a child. At the age of 5, her grandfather gave her a bum calf to care for and bottle feed. She was too small to reach the kitchen sink to mix the formula, but she would slide the chair over to the sink and make the calf a bottle twice a day. Wyoming is a cold place, but that wouldn't stop her from bundling up for the 6 a.m. feeding. The love of participating in growth of any kind has translated to many of her passions, from crops in the fields to gardens, pets, coaching sports, loving people, and mentoring students in the Granite School District. She is a wife, a mother of 4, and a grandma to 5 exceptionally cute and smart grandchildren. After Heather, we'll be hearing from Clarissa. Oh, I think I just realized the chat's in the way. Let's move that. So Clarissa is a prevention specialist for the State Board of Education. Her work at USBE is primarily focused on substance use prevention, and she is responsible for the coordination of the statewide underage drinking and substance abuse prevention program. Prior to joining USBE, she spent 11 years working at a nonprofit mentoring organization where she coordinated mentoring programs within the community and within partnering schools after school programs. She has also worked as a substance use disorder treatment center for adolescents. She is a certified health education specialist, and her passion for health and wellness led her to graduate school at the University of Utah, where she received her MS in Health Promotion and Education. Thank you for taking time with us this morning, Clarissa. Okay, now that I keep talking over myself, we'll go ahead and let Heather take over for a while and see if I can get my tongue back where it's supposed to be.
Okay, so last time, I don't know if all of you were here, but I talked about kind of a favorite book. Oh, of course, on cue, student calling. I'm sure you're all having that same life. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about another book that's a favorite of mine. It's Leaders Eat Last. And I don't know, I promise I'm not getting any commission off these books that I'm plugging. They're just books that I have really enjoyed. So a few of my comments are kind of quotes from this book that I really like. Part of my thought process today was that some of the folks that I've met at some of our state trainings and things, I've realized how fortunate the Granite School District is. We have 10 of us mentors on a team to kind of support each other and be the team and give each other ideas and that kind of thing. And I've sat with some of you who don't really have that. Some are the only one, or maybe there's two. And I thought how difficult that would be to maybe not have that team feel, but you do have a team. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about how you rally a team in each of your schools, who would be on that team, building relationships with them so that you feel that you have a team, number one, and that you are the leader of that team. I think Amanda and I kind of joked about this over the last couple of weeks about sometimes you feel like you're a little bit low man on the totem pole because let's face it, we're not in charge, right? We have state entities and school policies and district policies, and we have to fit within those. And if they would do things our way, I'm sure we would all agree that if they would listen to us, things would be perfect. But we have to fall in line with some of those things. And so I think it's important to rally your team. And I love this quote: "The true value of a leader is not measured by the work they do. A leader's true value is measured by the work they inspire others to do." And so I think it's making contact with that social worker, that psych, the speech pathologist, whoever it may be, to rally behind one of your students. And you may not be able to accomplish all those different things, but you can rally that team to support that student. So getting to know them, their names, their roles, what days of the week they're at that school, if they share a school, that kind of thing. The other quote that really stuck out to me from this book is, "Great leaders don't blame the tools they're given. Great leaders work to sharpen them." I think we all have moments where we complain a little bit about the tools we're given or not given. That if we could just do this, if we could just expand this, if we just had power over this, how different we could make things or the outcomes. And I think it's important to learn to, stay in our lane, but find out the absolute maximum that we can do within our parameters, sharpen that, and do the best that we can for the students that we work with. And I also love this. "I learned that I do not have to know all the answers. And when I don't have to pretend that I do. That single lesson transformed my life. It made me willing to ask for help, and it made me willing to be open to it when I needed it. I allowed myself to be vulnerable." I was in a meeting the other day with another mentor in our district because we share children in the same family. And she said, "I don't know the answer to that question, but I'm happy to research it and get back to you." And I thought, what an awesome answer. It's okay to not know. It's okay to say, "Let me look into that." So much better to say that than to misspeak or to give false information. So I think don't feel like you have to know everything. A team is not a group of people who work together. A team is a group of people who trust each other. I think we all get a little possessive of our students that we work with. We love them. We want to guard them. They've had a lot of failures or people that have failed them. And so we want to kind of guard them, and we trust ourselves with them. I think it's important to remember to trust other people, other team members. The more people who know that child, the more people who love that child, support that child, the better off that child will be. So to be inclusive and, you know, gather a group around that child and trust other people to help you with that. Leadership is absolutely about inspiring action, but it's also about guarding against misaction. And I think we all catch sometimes some misaction, maybe some students who have fallen through the cracks, things that, you know, schools get busy, psychologists get busy, and we get busy, and social workers get busy. And sometimes things aren't moving along at the pace that we would like them to. I think this happens with IEPs, 504s, some of those kinds of things. And so I wanted to, I'm sure Debbie is with us, but she's another mentor in our district. And recently we had a group email going around that had been started by another mentor, having a little frustration with getting an IEP completed for one of her students. And so everyone was kind of chiming in with a little bit of advice or experience to maybe try to help. And Debbie said something that really stuck with me. She provided some information that will be helpful to all of you. But then in addition to that, she said, be really careful what you do with this information to maintain the relationship school and with the teacher. So Debbie, will you chime in and talk a little bit about that?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I was having audio or sound problems on my computer, so I had to switch it to my phone. So I didn't know if you can even hear or see me, but I can see you. I actually had to use this last night in a meeting that I was in, where a mom, some kids just recently were placed back home. So a mom was asking if there was something I could do with the school because her daughter's really behind and she feels like there was some IEP testing that was done in the previous school, but doesn't know where they're at with it. And so I just asked if they had requested some testing. And the mom said that she hadn't, but the caseworker said they feel that she's really behind. So I asked her if she could write a letter that I would hand deliver into the school to just kind of let them know that there's a concern and they're requesting some testing done with her. Otherwise, they're probably just working on interventions if she's behind. So I would think a school's probably in an intervention process before they would look at testing. And I told her that I would hand deliver it to the school. And I told her just to request that. So if at that point, then I would take the letter in. If it's an elementary school, I would then take the letter in and I would give a copy to the principal and I would give a copy to whoever is their SPED coordinator there that would do things. But like you said, what I had said is be really careful how you handle that because we're not special ed and we need to have a very good working relationship with them. So I would never go in and just say, hey, do you know that you have 30 days to do something with this student because DCFS is requesting it, which is what the rule is. It brings it down to 30 school days, which probably is about 6 weeks, which almost cuts a month off of a regular SPED situation. Usually what I say is they're requesting some testing done. And I just want to make sure that that DCFS is aware that there's a different timeline for their kids, the youth in custody kids, that it's really 30 days. And so let me know if that's going to be an issue. That way I'm not going in and telling them how to do their job. So if they're in custody, if they are in the custody of DCFS, it's 30 days. They have 30 days to do the testing and get things moving for them. And you can explain that if they question that. It's in the SPED handbook. And it's basically because these kids aren't any different than the other kids in the school where I don't know. You can explain it as these kids get moved a lot. And so they require a less amount of time because they could be gone next month. And for them to get help, they really need to kind of crunch down the time and try to get stuff in place for them before they possibly are moved again, which happens a lot, and they need the resources. So that's kind of where it's regularly 45 days, but if they're in custody, it's 30.
Thanks, Debbie. And Amanda I provided her with the pages that explain that, and they'll come out to you when she sends this presentation out so that you all have it. I noticed in the chat, a couple of people said, I didn't know that was a thing. And that's the whole purpose of us sharing and having these webinars, is so that we learn things we didn't know. And so I hope that helps, and we handle it appropriately. And we don't, go in and act like we're overstepping or trying to do someone's job. But there's a way to let them know that we're aware, the family's aware, the caseworker's aware, and what can we do to help this child? Again, bringing the team together in a inclusive way without causing any divisions or anything. Right. So thanks, Debbie. Debbie's one of our, long-standing with lots of wisdom that we kind of all go to for advice. So my final slide is I as mentioned in my introduction, I've coached a lot of teams. For about 30 years, I've coached basketball and volleyball. I played basketball and volleyball growing up. And I also really enjoy tennis. But I so much love watching when someone wins a championship, a team, instead of, the poor tennis player. It's great. I mean, I'm sure they're excited they just won Wimbledon, but they're just out there alone. They're not even with the coach. They're just kneeling on the court all by themselves. And maybe because that would make me feel a little insecure to be all by myself with everyone staring at me. I don't know. But I just always love watching a team celebrate and a whole team come together and say, yes, like we're celebrating someone mentioning that a student that was so credit deficient that they did not think they would graduate looks like they're going to graduate. I'm sure there's a team of people behind that. And how great to celebrate that student, but also as a team, that this great accomplishment. So I love this quote. If you have the opportunity to do amazing things in your life, I strongly encourage you to invite someone to join you. So celebrate as a team, and it feels good. It feels better than celebrating alone. So hang in there. I think we have 4 weeks left, and you're all amazing. I can't wait till we can all sit in the same room and share our stories.
Thank you, Heather. I look forward to that too. I was just going to say, if you don't have a team to celebrate with, you guys know my phone number. I am happy to enjoy some good news. We got to celebrate the little things or the big things or any of the things. Oh, I love it. Let's see. Kelly is down to 2.5 weeks. Woohoo! I actually realized this morning I haven't even looked at when my kids graduate, finish this school year, because it means one of them is close to graduation and I don't want to face that. Anyway, it looks like Miss Clarissa is with us. So Clarissa, I will stop sharing and let you take the reins, my friend.
Okay, great. I will go ahead and share my screen. And let's see, can you see that okay? Okay, great. And then if I start to cut out or anything, let me know and I can turn my camera off. But
I prematurely said yes. We've got the 2 slides where your next one's coming up. You might need to swap the
okay. Let's try that again. How's that?
So it's still the same. Up on the top menu. Oh, there we go. It has a delay.
Oh, delayed. Okay. I thought, I don't know what else to do if that doesn't work. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. And am I okay to leave my camera on, or do you recommend I turn it off? Is it better with internet connection to?
It's been okay. Luckily, my neighborhood got the super awesome Google Fiber lately, so I haven't had an issue. But if you do start to cut out, I'll just come on and let you know. So.
Okay. All right. Sounds great. Well, thank you. I am happy to be here today. And this is a topic that I feel is is so important for all of us. And I feel like I feel that you as mentors are in a really great position to have these types of conversations with the students that you work with around creating healthy habits. You just have a different relationship than maybe their health teacher, for example. And so you are, again, just in a great position to be very impactful. All right, I wanted to give you an overview of what to expect today. So I've listed the agenda here. So I'll start off by giving you an overview of Utah's Portrait of a Graduate and how creating healthy habits and wellness ties into that. Then we'll talk about the benefits of creating healthy habits. I'll give you some considerations for discussing healthy habits. We'll get into nutrition, physical activity, stress management, and then I'll share some of USBE's resources around health and wellness, and then we should have time for questions and answers. All right, so I want to start off by talking about Utah's Portrait of a Graduate. How many of you, I guess by raise of hand or click the reaction button, how many of you are familiar with Utah's Portrait of a Graduate? If you're familiar, raise your hand. I see some heads shaking. So I see, okay, so some thumbs up, some no. So basically, Utah's Portrait of a Graduate, it identifies the ideal characteristics of a Utah graduate after going through the K-12 system. So a few years back, before my time at USBE, I know that there were several focus groups that came together and talked through, okay, what characteristics does somebody who's graduated from the K-12 Utah public school system, what characteristics do they have to be successful in career, in college, in life? And they came up with, after all of these different focus groups and surveys, they came up with 13 characteristics that the ideal Utah graduate ought to have. And so there's been a lot of work within USBE on what that looks like, developing competencies around those characteristics, and it's getting shared out to LEAs, but I think there's still probably some more learning to do around this. But if you want to learn more about Utah's Portrait of a Graduate and you want to see what all of those 13 characteristics are, you can go onto USBE's website. And those are listed. On this slide, I only have the first 8 listed, and there are additional ones as well. But for today's purposes, we're going to focus on the characteristic of wellness. And the definition of wellness as found in Utah's Portrait of a Graduate is pretty broad. And so we won't be able to talk about all of it today. But I did want to share that with you, so that as found in Utah's Portrait of a Graduate, wellness is the characteristic of developing self-awareness, self-advocacy skills, and the knowledge to maintain healthy lifestyles that provide balance in life and improve physical, mental, social, and emotional well-being. So again, it covers a lot. And today I'll be mostly focusing here on the bolded sentence within the sentence. And so just keep that in mind and know that, again, as mentors, you are in a great position to be able to help the students that you work with foster this characteristic of wellness, and it will benefit them not only in school, but beyond school and after graduation. So I just talked about how it will benefit them. There are a lot of benefits to creating healthy habits and to having wellness in your life. And I think there absolutely was a reason behind having wellness be one of those 13 characteristics of an ideal graduate, because there are so many benefits to creating healthy habits, and they really do impact all aspects of life. And I think when you're talking about or thinking about creating new habits and developing habits, it's really good to understand why you are doing that and have a real clear vision of that, because new habits, healthy habits, can be challenging to incorporate into your life, and when something is challenging, it's always good to go back to your why and understand, okay, why am I doing this? So here is what the research says about the benefits of creating healthy habits, because it really is worth the investment. Some of those things that the research shows is that creating healthy habits leads to greater endurance, increased energy, increased focus, a stronger immune system, longevity, and greater and increased mental health. So good to keep all of that in mind when having conversations with students about creating healthy habits. And some of these benefits are probably going to resonate with the students that you work with more than others. For example, longevity is probably not going to resonate with a teenager as much as something like more energy or mental health. Longevity just seems like living a longer life just seems, I think, a little too far away from their current situation. And so you could bring that up as a benefit, but probably focus on one of the other benefits if you really want to create more motivation behind creating healthy habits. And one thing to keep in mind is when you experience these benefits, when you have more energy, when you have greater focus or a stronger immune system, all aspects of your life are more likely to improve. So your school, your academic life, work, if you have a job, sports performance, even relationships can be impacted by how healthy you are. For me, I was sick last week. And so when my immune system is down, I notice that I'm less patient. I'm a little more grumpy. I'm probably not as, I'm definitely not as focused. And so I know that impacts my relationships. I know that impacts my productivity at work if I'm not feeling well. So there are so many benefits to having a strong immune system and to doing what you can to incorporate healthy habits into your life to benefit all aspects of your life. Now, when discussing healthy habits with the students that you work with, this can be, maybe it's a formal conversation, maybe it's an informal, maybe you have, it comes up naturally at some point. But there are a few things to keep in mind when discussing healthy habits that will help you be most effective in inspiring and motivating and empowering the students that you work with to begin to develop or enhance the habits that they have in their life as it relates to health. So the first thing that I recommend is to meet the student that you're working with where they're at. People are going to be on all across the spectrum when it comes to healthy habits. And when it comes to attitudes, beliefs, self-confidence in being able to incorporate habits, and their knowledge regarding healthy habits. And so understand where they're at and meet them where they're at. You might be working with a student who really values health and has a lot of habits already in place as it relates to their health and maintaining optimal health. You might be working with a student who really doesn't think about it, even where they don't really think about it. They don't really think about exercise, or they don't really think about eating healthy foods. You might have a student who thinks of it as being, oh, this is so hard. Healthy food tastes terrible. I hate exercise. So you're just going to have people from all over the spectrum. Meet them where they're at. Be okay with where they're at. They don't have to stay there, but meet them where they're at and be understanding of that. Second, be aware of potential barriers. A lot of the students that you're working with may have a lot of barriers when it comes to incorporating some healthy habits into their life. For example, I'm sure a number of the students that you work with don't really have control over the food that comes into their home. Somebody else does the grocery shopping. Somebody else is responsible for that. And so be aware of that. That could be a barrier for them. Other students may not have access to a safe place to be physically active and to be able to move. And so be aware of that. They might have some physical barriers as well, like with their own health. So if a student has severe asthma, they may run into more barriers when it comes to physical activity. If a student that you're working with is in a wheelchair, they absolutely are going to have some more barriers to work through when it comes to physical activity. So be aware of those. Just be mindful and considerate of that. Also be aware of and sensitive to body image issues. Negative body image can begin at a surprisingly young age. And according to a 2020 research review, 40 to 50% of first and second graders already don't like some aspect of their body. And as they get older, that dissatisfaction can deepen. So be sensitive to that. Be mindful of that as you're talking about healthy habits, that your value is not based on what your body looks like. Your value is not based on your health. You have inherent value and inherent worth, and it has nothing to do with the way your body looks. So that's, I think, a message that is important to send to the students that we're working with, that their value is in no way tied to their health habits. Avoid shaming and lecturing. Research shows that that's just ineffective and can actually be detrimental and have the opposite effect in creating behavior change. If somebody feels shamed, they may feel less confident in their ability to make the change, or maybe they don't feel worth making that change in their life. And so it's just ineffective and doesn't work. So keep that in mind, but instead use motivational interviewing skills. And I am a real fan of motivational interviewing skills. There's a lot of research that's behind this on the effectiveness of using motivational interviewing skills to encourage behavior change. So if you're unfamiliar with motivational interviewing skills, I recommend doing a Google search. There's some great YouTube videos that give a good overview. About a year ago, I gave a presentation on one of these webinars specifically on motivational interviewing. So that, I think, is still posted online, so you could potentially go back and look at it, and it gives an overview, just a real top level overview of what it is. And then encourage the student to determine what habits they would like to create. And this is a part of motivational interviewing skills. It's giving that student that autonomy and recognizing that they are the expert in their life. And so they really are in the best position to make those decisions on the habits that they want to create. And they know what they are most interested in. They know that where they're most confident in starting and what's going to benefit their life the most. So encourage them to be the ones to determine what habits. And then finally, decide on one or two small goals to work on first, rather than trying to change everything at once. You might be working with a student who has a lot of unhealthy habits, and they themselves might be tempted to just make a bunch of changes all at once. But the research shows that it's better to start small and have those little wins along the way, rather than trying to change everything at once, get overwhelmed and quit. So start small, and then once that student has met that goal, maybe they've successfully incorporated a habit into their life for 3 to 4 weeks, which is about the time it takes to form a habit, then they can start adding another one into their life. Okay, so nutrition. There are a lot of diets and theories on what people should or shouldn't eat. But what is undisputed is the 6 basic nutrients. So there are 6 basic nutrients that we all need to survive and to thrive. And we all need carbohydrates, proteins, fats, vitamins, minerals, and water. So when talking about nutrition, I recommend really sticking with those basics. And students as young as 3rd grade in the Utah school system learn about the 6 basic nutrients. That language is written into the health education core standards. And so they should be familiar with that terminology. And then students who are younger than 3rd grade are still learning about foods that are healthy. They still have nutrition as part of their health education core. Also, when thinking about talking to students about nutrition, another good place to start is with this Choose My Plate that you've likely seen before. It's been around for several years now, and it's the USDA, U.S. Department of Agriculture, created this plate as a simple visual of ensuring that you have a well-balanced meal. And a well-balanced meal includes half your plate fruits and vegetables, half your plate proteins and grains, and then they have a little dairy on the side. There are other more enhanced plates out there. So I know Harvard School of Public Health has their own version of the plate, which is a little more detailed. It includes water, it includes healthy fats. It gives you an idea of, okay, this is how much dairy you ought to limit yourself to. But this, if a student is just learning about nutrition, this I think is a pretty good place to start as far as what is nutritious. And I wanted to get into ideas on different habits and different ways to encourage the students that you're working with to incorporate nutrition into their everyday life. And I think the approach can be a little bit different for the younger students versus older students. So I have a couple of different slides here to tease those two out. And when talking to students talking to elementary students about nutrition, I think it's good to keep in mind that they are likely to be interested in this. So when I was in grad school, a group of students and other graduate students and I went to an elementary school after school program, and we did a focus group with elementary school aged kids and talked to them about nutrition and their opinions and what they knew about it. And one thing that came out of that little focus group was that we found that the students were really interested in learning about healthy food and what made their body work well and how it impacted their body. And so I don't think they're too young to learn about those things, that there is that interest, but certainly explain any benefits in a developmentally appropriate way. So you may want to talk about how carrots are really good for your eyes and spinach is good, helps you build strong bones, and those kinds of things in using that type of language. I also like this little visual here to eat a rainbow every day. And that's a good way to encourage incorporating a variety of foods into their diet, and fresh foods too, whenever possible, because those are the foods that tend to have the most color to them. I think it's important to, I mentioned this earlier, but to ask students for their ideas. So you're encouraging them to create their own habits and creating their own goals. So ask the students for their ideas on how they can eat healthy. What do they want to do to eat more healthy foods and eat foods that are really good for them? And I've listed here on this slide a few different habit ideas that they, if they don't have any idea, here are some things maybe you can give them some choices on. Do any of these things sound like something you want to add into your life? And so maybe it's as simple as or maybe it's harder for some kids, but eating all your vegetables on your plate, that could be a really good goal to have. Drinking water every single day and making sure you're eating a grain, a protein, a fruit, and a vegetable every single day. If it's Halloween or Valentine's Day, that could be a good time maybe to talk about avoiding eating all your candy at once. And maybe they want to decide on, okay, this is how many pieces of candy I'm going to eat every day, or no more than this every single day, rather than all at once. And then it's all gone and you might have a stomach ache. So those are just a few different habit ideas that a student could take and put it into a habit and turn it into a SMART goal. As far as older students, I think they could, again, some of the habit ideas are going to be the same as with the younger students, but I think there are some other habit ideas that might be relevant for an older student. For example, eating breakfast, that could be a goal for them to have. I think older students are often more likely than younger students to skip breakfast. Maybe they sleep in and they've got to get to school. And this could be a good goal for them to increase their energy throughout their day. Maybe they want to replace their soda or juice with water. Maybe they're in a better position, potentially, depending on their circumstances, to start getting used to meal prep or healthy snack prep. Again, circumstances are different for each student, so that might not be an option for some, but for some, maybe it is. Maybe they, before going to work at their fast food job, rather than eating dinner there at the restaurant, maybe they want to bring their own meal, and that would be considered meal prep. Perhaps they want to cut back on sweets or eat something healthy first and then eat the dessert. So these are all different habits to think about and incorporate. I think back to when I was in junior high and I don't know how it is now, but I know when I was in junior high, that was the time in the transition when there were more options in schools. It wasn't just school lunch that you could buy. You could also now buy a la carte, and you could buy donuts and cookies and fries. And it was not uncommon for my friends and I to have a lunch that consisted of like donuts or fries and a Hawaiian punch. And that is just, I don't know. It's just not gonna create. I just can't imagine we had the best energy from a lunch of donuts. And so again, I don't know if maybe things have changed a little bit since when I was in school, but I just encourage the students that I work with to eat something healthy first. I mean, you can have a donut, but have a lunch first and then have your donut. And you may not even want the donut anymore after you've had your lunch, but at least then you've like given yourself some good solid nutrition to fuel your body. And then ask the student to choose a habit that they want to incorporate into their routine in order to enhance their health. Okay, next is physical activity. And the CDC recommends that children and adolescents participate in 60 minutes or more of moderate to vigorous activity every single day. And they recommend that students participate in a variety of enjoyable physical activities. And as part of that 60 minutes every day, that on at least 3 days of the week, students should be participating, or children and adolescents should be participating in vigorous activity, such as running or soccer, activities that strengthen their muscles, such as climbing or push-ups, and activities that strengthen bones, such as gymnastics or jump rope. So something to keep in mind when talking about physical activity on how much physical activity is recommended for the students that you work with. So I've listed here a few different habit ideas to encourage physical activity among elementary students. Again, keep in mind the student, any potential physical limitations that the student may have, and be sensitive to that and aware of that as you together maybe develop a plan to incorporate more physical help, more physical activity. So some ideas could be to be active during recess, rather than maybe have a student who likes to just sit on the grass and talk to their friends. Maybe a goal for them would be to, rather than just sitting and talking to their friends, maybe they can start walking around the field and talk to their friends. Or try something new. Maybe they've never played, I don't know, kickball before, and encourage them to try something new, and letting them know that they don't have to be good at something I know for me, when I was younger, I always felt like I was really bad at sports. And so I think it's, and I'm sure I'm not the only one who felt that way. And so I think that I kind of held back from that because I thought I was bad at it. But I think having a growth mindset can be really helpful of, yeah, you might not be very good right now, but the more you do it, the more likely you are to become better at it. And so maybe give it a try and see if it's something that you really like. So I think you can have those types of conversations to encourage students to try out something new, or maybe try something that they thought they were bad at, that it's okay. You can have fun anyway, even if you're not that good. You can encourage the students you work with to have, to think of, just ask them, what's something fun that you can do after school that would require you to move your body, and see what they come up with. Kids can be really creative. Some other ideas that they could have is, maybe if they have a habit of just going home after school, and maybe they're used to playing video games or watching Netflix right after school, maybe they take some of that time and replace it with sports or jump rope or tag, maybe riding their bike. Again, be aware of some students might not have access to any type of sports equipment. And so perhaps you could come up with ideas on things that they can do that wouldn't require any type of equipment. Or I know sometimes there are people who want to donate things. And so so maybe you can get your hands on a jump rope or something that you can give to the student. Again, I don't know if you all have rules on gift giving, but something to consider if that's okay. Next, encouraging physical activity in junior high and high school students. So again, try something new, or maybe for them, they want to actually create an exercise routine where they are exercising at the same time every single day or during the week, or maybe it's every morning before school or when they get home from school. So sometimes incorporating that routine can be beneficial. Maybe their goal is to participate in school or community sports, or for them to invite their friends to do something active rather than, I don't know, going home and just listening to music or watching YouTube videos with their friends. Maybe they would want to go for a walk or go to the park with their friends, go play Frisbee or something. Maybe they want to create a goal of walking or riding their bike to school if they have access to a bike, and if they live close enough to the school and the school is in a safe neighborhood where would be safe to do so. Perhaps that's a goal they want to work on. Maybe it's going for a walk at least 10 minutes every day. Maybe that's something that they want to do. Or maybe their goal is to always take the stairs, even if there's an elevator, or to choose a parking spot a little further away from the entrance of the school or of the grocery store. And then just walk a little farther. So there's just kind of a variety of different types of activities. Some are more intense, like actually having an exercise routine, versus, okay, I'm just going to take the stairs. So just for people, again, there's a lot of different options here for people who are at different places in their life. Right, so I want to talk about stress management as well, and nutrition and physical activity. Actually, those types of habits can contribute to lower stress levels. So that's something to keep in mind, but there is a lot of crossover in the world of wellness where things just really do cross over and connect. But I've listed here some things to consider when thinking about stress management. And first, incorporating stress management skills daily can actually help students prevent stress and anxiety. So no need to wait until you are totally stressed and overwhelmed to begin incorporating some of these habits into your life. You can prevent that feeling of complete overwhelm, being completely overwhelmed by having these stress management skills in your life consistently. But these stress management skills can also help students cope when they're in that moment of feeling stress and anxiety. So there are things that you can do to like bring down the stress when you're in that anxious phase. Also, mindset can be a really big part of stress management. So how you think about a challenge can increase or decrease the stress that you feel. For example, if you think to yourself, oh, this is so hard, I can't do this, why is this happening to me? That's likely to make you feel really stressed, and more so than if you were to think something like, okay, this is hard, but I can do this. This is temporary. It's a temporary hard thing. And I've done hard things before, so I can do hard things again, and I'll get through it. So really the way you think about how your mind, like the state of your mind can really influence how stressed you feel about an event. So something else to consider. And then also some students may benefit from meeting with a mental health professional. So we're going to give you some tools and some habit ideas to implement, and that can be very helpful. But some students really would benefit beyond these habits and may benefit from a mental health professional. So for elementary school students, an idea that they may want to incorporate for stress management and preventing stress is to keep a gratitude journal. And there's a lot of research that shows how being grateful and keeping that gratitude journal can relieve stress, and it can also you can also become more optimistic as you keep a gratitude journal. So this is something that even young kids can do. They can if they know how to write, they can keep a gratitude journal. Maybe they would want to read or tell a joke every day. Laughter is something else that is known through research to decrease stress. And I don't know about you, but a lot of students that I worked with in the past love the joke books, like the Laffy Taffy type jokes. They really like those. And so maybe they go to the library and check out a joke book, or maybe they make up their own jokes. Perhaps one of their goals is anytime they see you, they tell you a joke. And this can help with stress management. And I think it can also help with relationship development too. Creating a mindfulness routine, whether that be like a breathing exercise regularly, a meditation of sorts that's age appropriate, or maybe it's simply I'm paying attention to how my lunch tastes or something like that. Like that all is all part of mindfulness, and centering yourself and being present, again, is something that has been shown through research to be effective in managing stress. I have listed here this Ask, Breathe, Connect. This is something that students can get into the habit of doing and when they're in the moment of feeling stress or anxiety. So this can be a good coping mechanism. And this Ask, Breathe, Connect is something that it's posted on USBE's webpage, and I'll give you the link a little later on. but where there's a link to an actual color flyer, and you can actually print this off and post it or share it with the students that you work with. But I think this is really good to get in the habit of doing and being able to reach to this when feeling stressed. And so the first thing is to ask, how is my body feeling? What am I feeling? So name it. Breathe is fill your whole body with air, then slowly release your air, tame it. And then C, connect, talk to a trusted adult, do something healthy, happy, and helpful. So this ABC is something that younger students can learn to recenter themselves and to de-stress in moments of stressful moments. Also, I think it's helpful to meet with the student at some point, especially students who experience stress or anxiety a little more than others, to when they're not feeling stressed, ask the student what helps them to feel happy and calm, and have a conversation about it. Write down those things that student that student comes up with, like those things. So maybe it's I feel calm when I take deep breaths, or I feel calm and happy when I play with my dog, or when I go play basketball. So have them write down those things and then create a plan for what that student can do when they are feeling stress and anxiety. So then they have this list of things, tried and true things that work for this particular student that they can go to when they feel stress or when they feel anxious. So encouraging stress management in older students, I've got a few ideas listed here. Again, the gratitude journal, or maybe it's a journal of, these are the wins for my day. This is what I can feel proud of. Maybe it's, I made my bed. That was a win for me. Maybe it's, I studied really hard for my test and I got an A-. That's a win. And so have them track it, just write it down, and then it helps them focus on what they can be proud of and what went well. And then also just simply writing out feelings. This is, I'm feeling overwhelmed and stressed and anxious. Write it down. There is a lot of research that shows that the act of actually writing down your feelings can be therapeutic, and it's kind of a way of just getting it out there. You're acknowledging the feelings, and then you can move forward. Next is a mindfulness routine. Maybe it's meditation, maybe it's yoga, maybe it's, again, paying attention to how it feels to brush your teeth. So that can be something else that they incorporate. Watch or read something funny every day. Watch or read something inspirational every day. Listen to music that puts you in a good mood. An exercise routine. I know we've talked about that earlier, but again, there's a lot of research that shows that an exercise routine can be very helpful and effective in managing stress. And then also take time to play. That's something else that some students may not do. They might be so packed with AP classes and their job and babysitting their little siblings that they might benefit from just scheduling in time once a week, even to just do something for the pure enjoyment of it. That can be very helpful for stress management. And then reframing, which is kind of a similar to mindset, but maybe they want to choose a habit of, okay, I'm going to reframe my challenges to be something that is maybe more empowering or more helpful for me in moving forward. So just reframing challenges. And just like with the elementary ABC that we just talked about, like here's a formula that students can incorporate into their life in moments of stress and anxiety. The USBE created this resource for older students for moments of, like, in that moment, I'm feeling crisis, I'm feeling anxious. And that formula is breathe, relax, ask, validate, and engage. So breathe, fill your whole body with air, slowly release the air. Relax, let go of the tension throughout your body. Ask, what are the facts? What am I feeling? Validate, confirm your emotions, identify your experience, and then E, engage. What are my next steps? Who can support me? So this can be, again, a formula that students can learn to incorporate into their life in moments of feeling stress and to help them move forward and de-stress. And again, as with the elementary school students, same with the older students, ask that student to consider what helps them to feel happy and calm, and then create a plan for what that student can do when they're feeling stress and anxiety in those really stressful moments. Okay, and then finally, there are some resources on USBE's website that relate to wellness and might be helpful for you as if this is an area of focus that you want to work on with any of the students that you're working with. So there's some health education resources, and those resources are related to nutrition, related to mental health, substance use prevention. You can find a lot of that right here on this health education resources page. And then the emotional response protocol for elementary and secondary grades, that's the ABC BRAVE that I just talked about, and that formula that students can incorporate in moments of stress. You can find that here on the suicide prevention page, and you can print off, you can enlarge this little flyer, these little flyers and print them off and post them or hand them out to the students that you're working with. And then also Utah Portrait of a Graduate competencies and P20 competency exemplars. So as I mentioned earlier at the beginning of my presentation, wellness is a characteristic of the Utah's Portrait of a Graduate. And there has been some work on around, okay, how do we know, like, what does it look like to be competent in wellness at this age? And so there's different things outlined there that go over that. And also there are some activity ideas, these P20 competency exemplars. You can see some activities that are related to wellness that can lend themselves to a student becoming competent or showing that they're competent in that characteristic of wellness. So you may want to check that out. And then also coming this summer, it's not ready yet, but in process is a Utah Schools Behavioral Health Toolkit, which is to address mental and emotional wellness for school-age children. So my understanding is that toolkit it may not all be applicable to what we've talked about today, but some of it will be. And you may want to check it out as well. It'll be a digital toolkit that'll be coming out fairly soon. Okay, that's it. Are there any questions?
We are cruising right along today. We have plenty of time. You're welcome to come off mute and ask questions if that's convenient, or pop a question in the chat and I'll share it out for everybody. Give you guys a couple minutes here, and if we don't have questions this morning, I guess we'll just have time back in our schedules, which I don't think any of us will complain about.
Probably not.
Right. Oh, all right. Lots of great info. Thank you, guys.
Yeah. And if you think of any questions, feel free to reach out. I have my contact information here. So thank you.
Thank you, Clarissa. Okay. Well, as Clarissa said, you're welcome to reach out. You're also welcome to contact me and I can share back information. As usual, we'll go ahead and get the recording cleaned up and post it on the website for the folks who weren't able to join us this morning. Let's see, read the chat one more time. Okay, I don't see any questions, so thank you everyone. I hope you all have a wonderful morning and enjoy the end of the school year.